All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podcast of the Dark Future. My name is John the Wise, and I'm here with my boy, the Dark Future. How you doing, Luke?
Pretty good, man. We got a really kind of special episode today. Um, as a lot of you guys know, when I was at Gen Con, I talked to Mike Pondsmith, and I actually recorded that one. And then I also got to sit down with Cody for a little bit before a panel, and I talked to him for a good 30, 45 minutes. But the one guy I didn't get to talk to was Jay Gray, the art Talsorian kind of
Media
man of many
ambassador.
faces, I guess we could say. Yeah, the man of many faces. He was busy running around all day. So today we got him on the show. We're gonna grill him for some questions, and then we'll see what he can answer, what he can't answer.
Yeah, welcome Jay Gray from Talsorian. How you doing?
Hello, friends. I'm doing pretty good today. I hope you guys are having a good weekend.
It's a great Sunday. It's Super Bowl Sunday, and
Yeah, we're such nerds. We're talking about tabletop RPGs on Super Bowl Sunday.
yeah, this is the highlight of my day, not the Super Bowl. Are you going to celebrate anything for the Super Bowl, Jay Gray?
It is fine, and quite honestly, no, I don't have any particular plans. Other than being here today, it's a relaxing weekend.
Got it. Yeah, same. Well, let's get right into it. We do have a list of questions, but like we said, we just want to keep this nice and smooth and hanging out. We're just hanging out. We're buddies, we're all buddies that love Cyberpunk. So first, we want to we want to get to know you, Jay. So why don't you tell us what got you into tabletop gaming, your first games, any memorable things that shot out to you about tabletop gaming?
Oh goodness. Where to start? Way back in the dark late '80s, I suppose. Once upon a time, I was a collector, and my town did not have. And that comic shop had on the wall one day a copy of TSR's, which was what Wizards of the Coast used to be.
Hmm.
TSR Marvel Superheroes role-playing game. Specifically, they had the Advanced Marvel Superheroes role-playing game, which came in a nice, very terrible dice, 10-siders, one red, one blue, that you had to cram in the numbers. It was my introduction to role-playing games. I discovered that there was a much broader world beyond that one game.
Wow, so you're old school OG. This is before AD&D, right?
Around the same time as AD&D was out.
Okay.
Just back when there was an AD&D basic D&D split.
Okay, cool. And what was it about that gaming that really, because there's all kinds of other gaming, there's video games, there's other board games. What is it about tabletop gaming that really shot out to you?
Oh, well, I do those as well, and they are all lovely.
Mm-hmm.
I play plenty of video games and board games, but tabletop role-playing game is fantastic because not only is it storytelling, but it is a little bit of rules. I enjoy fiddling with those. Combination. And when the rules and the story work together and the world work together, you get something really beautiful.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
So do you like the crunch of the rules, or do you like to keep your rules more simple?
Crunch is good. I like crunch with purpose, but I enjoy narrative rules. As I get older, I find that I like my rules a little simpler than I used to do. I don't have the time or the energy to sit down and work out how the math works. But every once in a while, I still like going back and really saying, "Oh well, X is Y." I like rules to be precise and well blended into the world.
Would you say you're more leaning towards the rules as written type of playing, or do you do more homebrew, or a little bit of both?
Oh goodness! Quite honestly, I don't think I've ever played a game where I've played it straight out of the box for more than a session or two.
Of course. Yeah.
Oh no, I tend to homebrew because every table is different, and I find that the story I need often needs little tweaks here and there, either because I'm making up things that don't exist in the world as written, or because uh, our group's play style requires something a little bit different.
Okay, sounds good.
Pathfinder, when I run that, I have what are called brownie points, which you would just call action points in any other game, and I give them out to people for doing cool things, and then they turn it in and they get a reroll, and it's not in the general rules, but I find it works very well.
Oh, I love that. That's a great rule. I love stuff like that. Anytime you reward your players for creativity, it always you leave something there, an incentive for them to do cool stuff every time. So I love that stuff. Right. So, how often do you play RPGs, like tabletop games? I know that you're a busy guy. Do you have like a weekend game or something?
Not as often as I would like to. I am not in a ongoing game at the moment. But I live in a fairly rural area. There's not a lot happening here game-wise, and I was doing an online group for a while. But the problem with online groups is as I get older, my bedtime gets sooner. And it's harder to stay up later at night. Though eventually I will get back to it. So right now I'm in a bit of a lull, which I don't mind. I get to I always make sure these days that if I'm at a convention, I have a moment or two to find some kind of game going on.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's some people that are okay with not playing, but then there's other people that like that itch gets so strong that they like explode at one point. And that was like me and my buddy for a while. If we hadn't played for like, it's like, dude, it's been 2 years. We got to do something. You know what I mean?
I feel you. No, and it's been there was when I was a younger man, definitely something where I was a week I was playing, and now that I'm older, once a week would be nice. I don't need it's a quality thing, and as long as it's there, I'm happy, and I know I'll go back to it, so I know it's always there for.
Oh, once a week is golden. I mean, if you're playing once a week, you're playing.
Yeah.
In my opinion. So, yeah. Luke, do you have a question?
Well, I guess since we're kind of to this point, like I guess we'll talk about kind of your role at Talsorian. Like, I guess like your average day as Jay Gray. Posting on Twitter, posting on Discord, kind of your whole role at Talsorian. What exactly is it that you do?
My title, which they are very kind to let me pick for myself, is Media Ambassador. The answer is I do any bit of talking online that happens is me. I get up and I check accounts. I check all the social media feeds. Once I then I go forward and I have a project list that I move through it. Some things I do every day. Social media is a big one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Is the one of them. Other things I don't do as often. Every Friday there's a blog update on our blog. I attend a daily meeting every day online with the other members of the group.
I switched to my laptop's microphone, so hopefully that will be a little better with my headsets. Apparently my headset's microphone sucks.
Yeah, no, this is like 10 times better.
Yeah, this is much better.
Okay, so the answer is to put it in a nutshell. As media ambassador, my job is to talk to people. I say media because it covers both social media, which is generally interacting with customers through and fans and other gamers through social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Discord, Reddit, and the like, as well as more traditional media like game websites, magazines, and so forth. People wanting to do reviews, blogs, and the like. I do customer service, which is a duty I tend to share with Lisa, our business manager. It's whichever one of us gets to a particular problem first and what channel it comes in is who handles it. I get to do a little bit of layout, a little bit of editing, a little bit of writing, depending on the day, and some public relations work.
And when you say Lisa, that's Lisa Pondsmith, right? Mike's wife?
Lisa Pondsmith, Mike's wife, our business manager, co-writer of the Witcher tabletop role-playing game, and if you dig in, a contributing writer to many of our products over the years.
That's pretty cool, that they keep it in the family for all these years. And does it feel like a family environment at Talsorian? Like everybody's been there from the beginning kind of thing?
It feels like it's Mike, Lisa, and Cody's company, certainly.
Mm-hmm.
There have been people in and out, but in the end, it feels like, and they are the top 3 people at the company. So, it feels pretty much like that.
That's cool. I like that. I'm a family man, so I like stuff like that.
Go through and you look at all the companies which are still owned by their original owners that were around in the 80s. There aren't many in the role-playing sector.
Oh, okay. I understand. Cool. So I wanted to ask you about, what Talsorian is planning to do in the future or presently to empower content creators. Do you guys have any plans? I've seen that you sponsored Wandering DM, who's a wonderful streamer and role player. He's got a great channel. If you guys are listening, go and check him out. And you guys have done collaborations with people like Dicebreaker, IGN, and some other ones that I can't think off the top of my head. But do you guys have any more plans to sponsor other content creators or empower communities, or do you not know at the moment?
Case in general, with some situations like the larger media outlets like Dicebreaker and IGN, it's just a matter of that's more public relations than a community content sort of thing. Mm-hmm. Because those are media, those are news, large news or game content creation outlets, so they fall under a kind of different category. When it comes to the I don't want to say smaller, but less corporate sponsored, shall we say, organizations out there that are doing content creation. It's really case by case. If after watching them, talking to them for a while, seeing their stuff, we know that they're producing some solid content, we'll do what we can to help promote them. We try not to promote anyone if one of us hasn't given it a listen or a watch first, to make sure that what we're promoting, is within a certain, good taste threshold. We don't want to, be putting out anything working on anything that's racist or homophobic, and so forth.
Of course.
Beyond that, it really is just cases. As we say, oh yeah, these people are doing this. That's cool, and we will work with them to promote them, give them some extra bandwidth on our social media, do giveaways with their product and so forth, with our product and their viewers, so people are encouraged to come and watch them, because we want, you guys are playing our games. We want to encourage that. We want to encourage you to play our stuff. We want to encourage people to play our stuff after they watch people play our stuff, and not just watch it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's a situation where we like working together.
Yeah, along those same lines, do you plan to do, I know, I think it was a little over a few months ago, you put out that that pack that had like the official logos and for screen sheets and things like that. Are you going to put out more tools for that? Like things like that?
That's also case by case. We have done several different things. We put out several packets of NPC/pregens for Cyberpunk Red Jumpstart, as well as just this month we did one for Teenagers from Outer Space. We have done new I'm calling free DLCs, free downloadable content for Witcher and Cyberpunk. We have done scream sheets. We've done the packs. We just did the Dicebreaker adventure as a scream sheet / adventure you can download. We just did a 25-page adventure for Falkenstein you can download. So yes, we plan on putting out more content. The specifics as to what that content is yet, I'm not 100% sure. It's a case of the group gets together and we say, hey, what can we do this month? or this time period, and then if something's there, it's there.
Okay, so that's like the genesis of each idea, right? You guys just like go, hey, what can we do this month or this week? And then people just throw things out there, and then you guys just execute them.
I'd love to say it's a very organized and planned campaign, but the truth is, a lot of it is inspired in the moment. That Scream Sheet kit, for example, really was. I was literally fooling around with the layout of the Scream Sheets, and I thought, oh, wouldn't it be nice if people had this to do themselves? And I took an hour and I put it together. Actually, I took a little more than an hour, but the point is it's just an idea I had on the fly, and the best creative ideas are like that.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a really cool kind of little piece of content you guys put out. I really like that.
Yeah, I love that stuff. Logos, Scream Sheets, the free DLCs. It shows that you guys really want to connect with the community and give back to them. It's all free, so it's cool. I like it. Thank you.
Yeah. It is definitely free, and sometimes it says, and some other times it's like we put out a map for the apartment because there wasn't an 11x17 map in the box, and looking back on it, that was an oversight on our part. So I thought, oh, well, here you go. You can have it. Go ahead and download it.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, since we're talking about the work you've contributed, if people didn't know, Jay wrote a little bit of the Jumpstart kit. So I'm curious. Huh? Yeah. I'm curious what it was that you wrote, and if you are also writing something for Red too.
Can't talk about Red, or at least I can't talk about my contribution to Red.
Okay.
For the Jumpstart kit, I was the primary layout artist on it, working with Cody and with our art director Jay Kovacs. For writing wise, my biggest contribution was in the rule book. There is a page where it takes you step by step through your character sheet and how to finish filling it out, the little bits that you still get to do that aren't pre-generated. That was me.
Oh wow, that's a big deal.
It was just a case of because it's a very visual thing, it ended up falling to me because it required someone to sit down and write it as it was being laid out.
Well, knowing you personally, I know you have a passion for layouts and design and stuff like that, so it makes sense that they would go to you for that. That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, I'm lucky that I've got a specific set of skills, as a certain movie hero has said, and my specific set of skills include InDesign.
That's cool, man. That's cool. So, just shifting gears a little bit, can you give us a little bit of insight on the philosophy of like how information is released? I know that you can't talk about Red and specifics and stuff like that, and I know that at Talsorian, just from a consumer perspective, it's always been like, they'll release the information when they want to. You're not going to get anything unless they want you to get it. What's the philosophy with like releasing any information about upcoming products?
A lot of it is abundance of caution. Basically, it's a case of especially, we had originally said we were going to try to get the core rule book out for Red at last Gen Con. And that was our initial goal, and it turned out to be one we couldn't do for various reasons, the biggest one being that we needed to work with CDPR on some lore issues, not issues in a bad way, but we wanted to make sure that there was lore compatibility between our game and 2077. And because of that, we basically our philosophy has evolved to the point where we're saying we are not going to make promises we can't keep.
Mm-hmm.
So until we are sure we can keep a promise, we try not to release too much information about it. The same thing goes for information about what is going to be in a thing in general, as we try not to release, game design is what they call an iterative process, which means that you make a version, you test a version, you make changes, you have a new version, you test a version, you make changes. And so something that I could say, this is going to be in the game. And as of now, it's going to be, but 5 versions down the road in the rules, it's not going to be, because it turned out that didn't work with something else we wanted. And so something had to give. And that thing that we originally said was going to be there is the thing that gave. So long story short, until we're relatively certain of something, we try not to give out too much information about it, because we hate to say, yes, that's going to be, and then find out that no, that is not actually going to be. It feels disingenuous and unfair to all those people who get excited about something only to yank it away from them.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys are just like us, you know, you understand what it's like to be looking forward to something and then be disappointed later. So it sounds like you guys are trying to minimize that disappointment factor of, you know, something not happening and stuff like that, right?
That's a really big part of it. We want to minimize that. We also don't want to raise expectations in one. Do you know Fable, the video game series?
Yeah, of course.
You know how every time a new Fable comes out, they promise all these things are going to be in it, and then none of those things are in it?
Oh, yeah.
The Peter Molyneux effect.
You don't want to be that.
Yeah.
No,
or like 10 times the detail is what you're saying, basically.
Yeah, you know, because we have lots of ideas. There's tons of stuff that gets left on the cutting room floor because there's only so many pages in a book, and not everything works with every system. You may have some really neat ideas, for example, for a piece of cyberware, and then only find out that that piece of cyberware just breaks the rules too much, you know? So we are trying to be, we're trying to be careful there, and it's important. You guys, everybody out there, they want the best product possible. The other thing is I have to pin people down to get them to tell me things. And they're so busy making things, it's hard to get them to pin them down for like the hour I need for them to write up the information I need.
Well, then that kind of moves me to my next question that I wanted to ask you. You know, we hear a lot from Mike, Cody, and sometimes you as well. I think as a community, we'd love to hear from other people from the team. Do you guys plan on doing like AMAs with the art director or anybody else that's on the team that hasn't really been out there in the public?
Jay is busy enough that getting her what little time she's what we call a multi-gig person. Art direction is not the only thing she does, and as a result, her free time is very precious. So I try not to bother her too much about it. Though she did sit on our Cyberpunk panel at Gen Con, which was very exciting.
And she gave great insight. You guys should go check it out on YouTube. It's there. The whole interview, all kinds of awesome stuff about Red is in there too. You guys should check it out.
She is fantastic, and she is one hell of an art director. Her ability to work with artists, not only to have an eye for exactly what we want, but to sit there and work with artists until she gets what she wants out of them. Not in that like I'm trying. That sounds horrible, but in a very good way. She knows how to get the best out of them, and it's a good example of why any creative person can use an editor or a director to help them bring out their maximum performance. So she's fantastic. The other big person, Lisa, doesn't do much in the way of interviews. She'll talk about Witcher, but she doesn't do much in the way of interviews in general. It's just her preference. And James Hutt, who is our all-around design person working in whatever project it needs, has started doing interviews and will do more in the future. He is he did some at PAX Unplugged, for example, and we'll see him doing more as time goes on. And especially once we get past this, get to the point where Red is out and he can take a moment and take a deep breath. James is the mayor of Balancetown, which is our testing area. Any rule we do, any new rule, any new creature, any new whatever, goes over there and gets hammered on by him. It's not his only job, but it takes up a lot of time.
So Mike's not the only one that kills your characters, huh?
Oh no, but James is making sure that if it does kill your characters, it was intended to kill your characters,
and it was fair.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, let everybody know on the team that as a community, you know, we'd love to hear from them, and if any of them want to come on the show and talk here, this is a platform that's open door for them as well.
Okay, I will.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we went down pretty much all the members. You know, with Cyberpunk getting as popular as it is, and The Witcher too, with the Netflix show, are you guys planning to expand at all?
Not a question I can answer really, because that is not within my ballpark.
Sure.
That's above my pay grade, essentially.
Yeah.
Yep. Understandable. I get that. The only reason we ask is because we know that you guys like to keep it close knit, and it's been like the same crew for years, and I know that this whole thing's gonna explode once 2077 comes out. So I'm wondering what the plan is, if you've heard anything of what's gonna happen after that.
The plan is to keep making good stuff, and we will. It's a case of we'll assess the situation and do the right thing for ourselves. Expanding too quickly is the destroyer of many an operation. Going back to TSR, for example, TSR had a yo-yo effect for a good decade, where they would go, "Oh, we're making lots of sales," and they would grow and they would grow and they would grow, and then they would find out that they grew way too much, and then they would have to fire everybody.
That's a bummer.
Mike and Lisa, yes. Mike and Lisa are always make sure that when they bring someone on board, they can afford to pay that person. We're very big about making sure everyone gets paid for their work. Artists get paid on time. If they're outside writers, they get paid on time. And our staff all gets taken care of.
Yeah, there's always that tipping point kind of with a company where growing pains, basically,
Yeah, one of the worst things that can happen to any company is to be too successful.
Yeah, I get it, because it would suck if you bring people on board and then you would have to let them go shortly after. It's just a nightmare.
Yeah, so we Mike and Lisa are very good at evaluating the market and what's going on, and they make decisions based on that, not just how well the company's doing in the moment, but they look to the future and say, how well is the company going to be doing next year and the year after that. And it's a skill I really appreciate.
All right.
Or they were able to say, hey, we promise you're going to have a job 3 years from now.
Yeah. Oh, you mean you're good people? Is that what you're saying?
No, I just there's going to be the company's going to be doing well enough that's not going to be a problem.
Yeah.
As long as you're going to have a job, so long as you don't screw it up, which I didn't, so I'm happy.
Yeah, as my mother-in-law would say, "Si Dios quiere," if God wants, So let's shift gears to 2020 a little bit, and we have a few questions about 2020. We were told, but at the what was the interview, Luke? It was the Gen Con panel, right?
Oh, for the next one?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. This was my question to Mike that I think shook you up a little bit about the 2020 Collector's Edition.
Yes.
Is it going to be... I know you can't say a lot about it, but is it going to be more than like just a hardcover? Like, are we going to get some maybe some premium stuff with it too?
Still working out the details with the team and the printer. This is a case if I don't want to promise anything. We're looking at a lot of possibilities, and we're seeing what's feasible and what's not, and what fits the theme of the game.
Oh, okay, sounds good. I like that. What fits the theme of the game? Hint, hint.
Well, it's one of those things where a lot of collector's editions for games, they'll do the leather covers.
Yeah.
At that, and we are looking. That's one of many options we're looking at. But we're also saying, is a leather cover the right theme for Cyberpunk?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. I get it.
Yeah.
I personally am hoping for like a bundle of like the collector's edition and Red together. That would be awesome. But that's just my own thing.
Yeah, and then there's the other thing. We had to look at the market and see, what will sell and what won't sell. Because you don't want to be stuck with 1,000 units of something, or even 100 units of something that no one's going to pick up.
Of course.
But yeah, I will let the team know that is something that has an interest.
Mm-hmm. Well then, hey, if you're talking to the team, Luke, you got anything else you want to say?
No, I'm interested as well. So
yeah, okay, sounds good. And about 2020, we know that you guys are focusing heavily on Red. You got Mechton Zeta. Is that what it's called?
If you mean the future Mechton, that will be Mechton Zero.
Zero. So you got Red, Mechton Zero, The Witcher, and all that kind of stuff going on. You guys are working hard, diligently. We're wondering, is there going to be any more support for 2020, like future modules, source books, anything like that, or you guys have no plans for it right now?
We moved to Red. That's pretty much going to be it for the 2020 line in terms of 2020 as it was. I'm not going to say we will never get back to 2020 as a setting, but we probably won't support the core rule book as the 2020 core rule book. It will be a new edition, just like Wizards of the Coast isn't making stuff for D&D 3.5 or 4 anymore. They focus on the new edition. We'll be doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And part of that is just Red will represent where we see the evolution of the rules for Interlock going. And so if there is new 2020 material set in the 2020 time period, it will probably be adapted to newer rules as opposed to for the old game. So the full answer is we are not abandoning 2020 as a setting. If you think of 2020 Red and 2077, each is their own settings. I'm not going to say we have specific plans for any of them beyond what we've already announced, but we will look at each and say, is there a reason to do it? And if so, is it something that will do well in the market? Is there a demand for it? And if there is, someone comes and says, we really want, that tech guide for 2020, we'll say, oh yeah, well, we can take a real good strong look at it and see what we can do with it.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
That's good news, actually. That's not a hell no, that's a maybe. So
yeah, it's just like, if I were doing Star Wars, I wouldn't automatically say, well, I'm never doing anything in the prequel era or the Knights of the Old Republic era or the original movie era just because I have a new sequel movie era out. I would say, well, I'll look at it, but it's probably going to be using stuff we've generated since then, not going back to the classic stuff.
Cool.
That being said, we are dedicated to getting all the classic stuff that we can back into print. We just put 4 new books into print on demand, and new scans of them last December, and we're looking at further books in the future.
Yeah, I'm holding my copy of Wildside and Raish Bartmoss's Brainware Blowout that I got from print on demand from Drive-Thru RPG, and I posted about it on social media, but I was worried that it might be a little blurry and this and that, but no, man, this looks like I just bought. I was in a store in 1993 and I picked it up off a shelf. That's what it looks like to me.
Yeah, it takes time. We get them rescanned by an expert. Sometimes we go back and say, can you adjust this page and adjust this page, and this page looks a little dark or this page looks a little light. Can you fix that page? And then we get it up and we make it available, and that's something we're going to work on. We've got Rocker Boy out for the first time in print in decades.
Ooh, I got to get that.
Which is nice. We'll have it in our store soon. It's at Drive-Thru as POD now.
Mm-hmm.
And Rocker Boy, I think, looks especially nice because the nice thing about it was it was done in an era when there weren't a lot of halftones, gray halftones, screens and such. And so I thought it came out very crisp and clear. And we're looking at the other books too. For those people who are excited about saying, when are you going to get the other Corp books? We're looking at those. We're looking at all the books. It takes a little time because it's a side project, not a main project, but we are working on it.
Well, hey, I got to say thank you because I'm glad I don't have to go and try to buy it off some guy on eBay for hundreds of dollars.
Yeah.
I mean, people are collectors, and I'm a big fan of game history, so I want that stuff. Even if I'm not using that system, the information, or even playing in that setting, the information is still important, and it's a piece of it, and I want all the pieces. I want the full puzzle.
Yeah, I agree.
I want it for no other reason than I can put it on my shelf.
Yeah, I have catching up to do, so I'm the same.
Yeah, okay, this is a question that I probably could have asked a little bit earlier, but it just kind of showed up on the list here. I think it was a few weeks ago, maybe, on either our Discord or the official Talsorian Discord, there was kind of a statement about running the Jumpstart kit as is without any homebrew rules. And I was kind of wondering like what the idea was behind that? Because I know even in the beginning of this interview, you talked about kind of liking to play with the rules. I was just curious, kind of, is it you don't want to set expectations like we talked about earlier, or?
No. I wish I know it exactly. I wish you could tell me exactly what it is I said, because I would never tell anyone not to homebrew the rules. I would suggest learning the rules as is before I started making changes, but only because you don't start rebuilding a house before you know how a house is built. You know what I mean?
Okay.
You need to understanding it, but I would never say we will run it right out of the box at conventions. And if you're doing it as a demo at a store, for example, we would request that you run it out of the box as is.
Okay.
Because
that might have been what you were.
That's
that might have
exactly
been
what
you
it was
were alluding to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. If you're doing it as a demo, if you're being so kind as to go into a store or at your local game club and you're running it for the first time for a bunch of people, it would be nice to see it run as it was written, if only because the idea of a demo is that people will then say, hey, that's neat, I want to go get it for myself. And then if they get it and they say, hey, this thing that they did isn't in here, they might feel a little let down or confused by it. And they may wonder, did they get a defective copy or, something? And it's just one of those things where we would hate for someone to get an idea of something's in the game when it's not.
Yeah, you guys, I understand. You guys worked really hard on the product, and everything is in its place exactly the way it's supposed to be for a reason. And, you just want to make sure that there aren't as many variables as there could be to deter someone or disappoint someone from the product.
Even that, it's like if I were $1 million, if I had $6 million and I were able to recreate a cut scene from a movie and put it in so perfectly that no one would notice, for example, that it was a cut, that scene wasn't originally part of it, and I showed them that, and then they go and they get the movie and that scene's not in the movie and they really like that scene,
they might be upset.
So it's a case, that's the case of if you're demonstrating the product, we ask you that you demonstrate just the product. From there, if you want to do, like I said, if you do a follow-up session or something, or you get a regular and you say, the Jumpstart kit is a starter set, therefore it has limits, and we want to include X. And just, if you want to say, yeah, we're including X, it's a little homebrew, that's cool. Yeah, no. Our games have always been hackable. In fact, we started in a time where hacking was just a part of life.
Yep.
Every game for quite a while, up until like the mid, say Call of Cthulhu came out roughly, was a D&D hack originally. So many games started off that way. And after that, it was just everyone played their own variation of the game. And we're always happy to see people hacking the games. It's just a case of when you're showing off the game for the first time to someone in a setting where it's not necessarily official, but it's a representation of the game, we ask that you represent it as written.
Yep, I get it. I get that. I'll tell you from my personal experience when I demoed it at my local FLGS. There's the apartment module that's in the Jumpstart kit, and I decided to run my own module that I wrote. And when I did that, one of the players was like, "Oh, are you going to run the apartment?" And I said, "No, I'm running my own thing." And he's like, "Oh, good, because I read the whole thing. I know what happens."
Yeah, well, that happens. The apartment's out there, and if they've read the screen, if they ignore the very long, that's the other thing I wrote, the very big stop warning right before the apartment. I wrote that.
Yeah.
So if they ignore the stop warning, then you need your own stuff is fine. It's also one of the reasons why we put the Red Chrome cargo job out as a DLC from our site, so there's additional adventures. So hopefully, if they haven't downloaded it and read it or seen Cody run it for Dicebreaker, it's something new that no one's done. It's great because it's a train heist, and train heists are always fun.
Cool. Okay, so that's good. Thanks for that clarification about all that.
And I'm sorry if I gave any other idea there. No, we're not saying don't modify. Modify to your heart's content.
Yeah.
I think you were just alluding to the demo thing. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, you even said demo specifically, so we're all good. It's all good.
Okay.
Shifting to Red. Now, we were going to ask you a couple questions. I was going to ask you more about Red, but I know you can't speak specifics. That's why I put a big maybe behind the question.
You can ask me, and I will say whether I can say anything or
exactly. Not. So if there's anything you're uncomfortable with, let us know. So we wanted to ask, with the advent of technology and the internet and AI and stuff like that happening in our world, do you guys plan on implementing that stuff into Red, or do you want to keep that same retro futuristic vibe of like plugging into stuff analog and things like that? What's your philosophy on that?
Everything in Red and eventually in 2077 is a logical outgrowth of the world. It is not necessarily a case of saying, hey, this exists in the world now, let's put it in Cyberpunk. It is a case of, does it make sense for the technology of the Cyberpunk universe to have evolved in that way? So the answer is, for example, Mike alludes to this several times in the Jumpstart kit. Before the data crash, before the net went down, there weren't web pages as we understand them. They didn't do hyperstacks. As technology evolved in a much different way, because it turned out the way the net was interfaced with, which was primarily through trodes or jacks into your brain, made different technologies not as important. Touchscreens weren't as important because why do you need a touchscreen when your brain can tell a computer what to do?
Yeah, it was like all that stuff was pre-collapse, and it's like whatever was right before the collapse, that's what continued onward. And there was no like innovation for a while, right?
Well, but there was, because if you read his description of how data pools work, the city nets and the data pools that are built on top of them, they use Hyperstack. There are web pages there. So the data pool is going to look a lot more like our internet for a city than the original net would have for interfacing. And the same way, you have agents in Red, which are essentially smartphones with built-in AIs. And other things have always existed. AIs have always existed. Wireless connection has always existed, though not necessarily in the same way. So there's an evolution of technology into Red, which happened because the collapse of the net and the Red required it, and there's going to be further evolution in 2077, which you'll see in the video game. So the answer
is there's like a version of YouTube, isn't there? They're called like Pop Stars or something like that, or like
Pop Media. Pop Media.
Pop
the
Media,
data because of the data pool and the collapse of megacorps, or a lot of megacorps, or the downgrading and the isolation of urban centers. Individuals and small companies have been able to get in and do YouTube, Twitch, essentially create their own media channels where before they would have either been drowned out entirely by the big guys, or someone will come down and kill them for even trying to get to their bandwidth. Now that's different.
I highly recommend anybody listening to check out the Live and Direct source book. It is like the media source book for 2020, and it gives you all kinds of information on everything that's going on media-wise. What do they use? What tools? What laws were implemented, like the Seward Act and stuff like that. So I would highly recommend you guys check that out if you're interested.
Live and Direct is great, and there's some good stuff about pirate broadcasting in there, which is a lot of fun. If you ever want to do a media campaign, do a pirate broadcast media campaign in 2020, or if you're in Red, do a pop media campaign where you're 5 content creators against the world.
That's funny. I like that.
Oh, we got to do our podcast, but these guys are getting down for us. That's okay. Turn it on. We'll record it as we're running.
Yeah. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, if you hear gunshots in the background, don't worry.
We are live from somewhere in Night City where we're being chased by corporate security.
That's great. I love that.
Yeah, I guess it's a little bit different. Still kind of about Red. I know kind of when I talked to Mike, he kind of talked about having things like kind of a simple way, and then kind of more like a crunchy way that people in 2020 would be more agreeable with, I guess. Did you what was kind of the? I mean, I don't know if you can really answer this question, but were there certain ways that you came up to deal with that crunch to make it more simple without kind of being too simple?
Yes.
The short answer, yes.
Yeah.
So you guys definitely,
It is.
because I remember talking about 2020 in the past with everybody in the community. We always talked about two things that deterred people. One was the lethality of Cyberpunk in general, and the second was the crunch. So, is there any insight you can give us on how you guys decided to work with the crunch and make it easier for new people?
There was, I mean, I could bandy around terms like streamlining, but yes, everything, no sacred cows. Everything was looked at. Every rule from Friday Night Firefight and all the individual parts to skill resolution. Everything was looked at. Lessons were learned from Witcher. Even some lessons were even learned from the Jumpstart kit because we had some extra time. So hey, and why not? Take a look and see if there's anything, once people are out there. Lessons have been learned, 30 years worth of lessons, one could say. And so things we've worked to make things not quite as complicated as they were, or not as many steps involved in many things. Net running is the biggest example, as you saw in
Oh, yeah.
But there are other small examples you'll see as well. But at the same time, lethality is not going away.
I love, don't take it away. Yeah. Nobody wants it away. Everybody loves it.
It's probably not going to be as nasty as 2020 was, but there is still it's still a game where you can die, and when you do, that's it.
Yeah.
There's no cleric around the corner who is going to resurrect you.
Yeah.
Though maybe 10 stages of death. Trauma Team has 10 levels of death. Maybe you'll only be death level 7 and a few new cybernetic implants, and you'll be okay.
Yeah.
So the answer is yes. Everything's being looked at. And one of the questions we are asking as we look at everything was, how can we make this faster and easier to run at the table?
Yeah, and I have to say, I mean, I've played with some people that add more crunch, like specific hit locations. Do you have a cold? All kinds of stuff. Are you wearing a hoodie or sunglasses? All that stuff is like a different role. So I think that are you guys going to implement some crunch still for those old school people that are into that stuff?
It will not be. We're not swinging fully to if you're familiar with more what they call narrative systems. We're not swinging to a more Fate style system where everything breaks down very simply, and there's not a sameness but a uniformity to the rules that makes it very fast and easy to run. We're not going quite that far. So the answer is it is still going to be a medium crunch game. It's just what the term medium crunch has kind of changed. Where crunches on the needle has changed in the last few decades, and we are moving with it.
Okay, cool. I like that. All right.
Honestly, I don't think 2020 is that crunch heavy a game, but it all depends on perspective and where you're coming from.
It's honestly not, but when you put all the source books and all the extra rules, and then on top of that homebrew rules together, it like if you're new to the game, you're like, what the hell's going on here?
Yeah. And one of the advantages we have is we can look at all those books and say, hey, what was there something in this book that should be brought over to the core rule book? And we can.
Yeah. It's good that like Red is like a restart for all of that. You're taking all the good things from the past and just streamlining it down to one rule book. Yeah.
We're pretty excited about it.
It's great. I can't wait. All right, I'm gonna ask you some questions here, and you just tell me yes or if you can or can't answer it. All right? Okay. Are we gonna have brand new roles in Red that have never been seen before? Sorry, I didn't hear that.
No. The biggest there's been some name changes and some evolution to the existing roles, but we're sticking with the core classics from 2020. The biggest difference is MedTech is fully split out into its own role.
Oh, wow, great. That's awesome. That's actually good news.
Sub role for the techie.
Cool. Yeah. And with special abilities for these roles, have you guys decided to go a different route with them along the same vein, brand new ideas, or is there anything you can tell us about special abilities?
There is some serious evolution in how special abilities function, and each is pretty darn neat.
Okay. And are you guys going to be implementing special rules? Like, I know, for example, the Wild Side book, it has some variants for fixers, and you can like take reputation points and use them to get people on contacts and stuff like that. And Home of the Brave has special rules if you're in the military. Are you guys going to implement that stuff in Red, or are you kind of like we'll figure it out down the road with source books?
I cannot answer that.
Okay, damn. That's fine. That's not a big deal. I honestly didn't think you would be able to answer any of the other ones that I just asked. So I appreciate it.
Okay, this next one's kind of we talked about this a little bit earlier. And I guess I'll ask this part first. Did you guys have any idea that 2077 was going to be pushed back? Did you guys get like a heads up, like, hey, we're going to need more time, we're about to announce this? Or what did you learn with everybody else?
I can't talk about our communication with CDPR.
Okay.
That's fine.
And I guess this is similar to this. This is probably a really quick yes or no question. I guess it's safe to assume, based on what you said earlier, that the delay is going to delay Red as well?
Not specifically, no.
No? Okay.
Yeah, maybe if you want, you can clarify, because I've seen on Facebook and other communities, they're all like, oh, it's tied in with the 2077 release, even though there's no information about that out there. Do you want to maybe just clarify it once and for all for everybody out there?
There is the assumption that we were essentially coordinating to release for maximum synergy, as the corporate speak goes. The answer is absolutely not. We did delay the initial release date of last August because there is a lot of cooperation and a lot of coordinated lore building going on, and we weren't ready. We overestimated, underestimated. We weren't ready for it because of lore concerns. And because of those lore concerns, and because we got extra time, we said, oh, yeah, well, okay, well, while we're doing this, why don't we take another look at all the systems? Jay said, oh, yeah, I got time. Why don't I do some more art? And so basically at this point, the release has nothing to do with 2077's release date. It's just a matter of when we feel it is absolutely ready. When all those when that new pass of all the rules we've done is done, everything is finished, finalized writing. It's gone to the editors. Jay's got her artists done. It's all in layout. At that point, we will release it, but it's not specifically about at this point. As our friends at CDPR have said, the video game is playable from start to finish. So we are not. Yeah. Yeah, we're not at the point where any last minute little bits of lore they introduce are probably going to affect Red and require a further pushback.
Okay,
yeah, that makes sense.
I'm sure there's going to be somebody out there going through all the writing and say, hey, I'm the red shirt guy. What happened here? This lore doesn't match up. So
in the end, there's probably going to be one or two small things. It's just the way the world works.
Yeah.
But we wanted to get as close as possible. Coordinated licensing, I don't think there's ever been, with the possible exception of a really big Star Wars project that happened back during the first edition, where there was a video game source book, a novel, and a comic that were all based around one big core idea. But there hasn't been this level of cooperation between a video game and a tabletop role-playing game, I think, ever.
No, not that I could think of. I do know one example of. Do you remember that show Defiance?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
They tried to make a TV show tie-in. They made the TV show and the video game at the same time. They're like, these are going to be interconnected, and it just did not work at all.
Yeah, it was a really cool concept that it was a MMORPG and that like the players would have an impact on the show. It was a really cool concept, probably way ahead of its time, but too ahead of its time.
Probably. And let me tell you what happens to your right campaign won't affect 2077 at all.
Okay, thank God. All right, sounds good. Luke, you got to ask this one because you're the king of the next question.
Okay. Okay. Well, I asked this question a while ago, and I even asked Mike about it. And when I asked Mike, he seemed really interested, but he wasn't sure how it would work because of CDPR. So I'm still curious if something like an OGL or an SRD are still possible for Red.
I don't think we're ever going to see an SRD or an OGL. That is not to say that we will not have some point in the future some sort of community content program.
Ooh.
I am not going to. This is not me saying there's going to be a community content program. This is me saying it's not off the table. We're not closing it off. There are things we're willing to look at, but it is a complex issue which needs time and study and more than we have at the moment.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what Mike said, that kind of the deal with CDPR kind of muddies the waters with that. So
there's a large part of that. But yeah, I'm not going to say there's never going to be a way for people to make, and the big difference between OGLs, community content, and homebrew is that you make money off OGLs and community content. In theory, should you turn a profit. I'm not saying that we're never going to do anything like that, but for the time being, it's not on our immediate radar. We encourage you to put out your homebrew stuff, just not for sale.
Yeah, yeah, that's cool. At least you guys don't pass out C&Ds for free content out there. That's good.
No. We've always been, like Data Fortress. That's a great site. By all means, go to Data Fortress, look at stuff. There's some awesome content there. Some real good ways to enhance your game.
Yeah.
Cool. And just to touch on that, to stay on this subject, what's been like the idea for OGL? I know that D&D did it, and now I don't know if it's an expectation of people, but people are kind of looking at other systems and going like, hey, are you going to do it too? Because these guys did it. And what's like the philosophy for Talsorian throughout the years with all that stuff?
The OGL, the Open Game License, which is what Wizards of the Coast came up with D&D 3.0 back in the day, where basically you get to make, within restrictions, content for D&D, which you can then sell. That was the whole concept of it. Came up for a couple of reasons, and the thing is it's a very complex subject, because one of the reasons it came up was it was a way for them to lessen their own burden by getting other people to develop content for them, but also a way to make it so that other games are less attractive, because anybody can develop any content for anything. For OGL, why when the big game is when you get any plugin for the big game, why get any other game?
Yeah,
it's a complex issue. Our philosophy has usually always been, we will license the right to make supplements, and we have in the past. We're not currently looking to license anything, but we've licensed Cyberpunk, Mecton, Teenagers from Outer Space, Castle Falkenstein. They've all been licensed to other companies to do new supplements, but we like hanging on to our core rules. And I don't see us, and truth be told, I don't see many companies going the OGL route from now on, because the community content programs over at Drive-Thru have so many more benefits to companies than an open game license.
Yeah, cool. Thank you for that insight. That makes sense. All right, so shifting gears a little bit, we had Monster Fight Club on here. Shout out to them. They came on. We talked about stuff that they're working on for Red and stuff, their origins and stuff like that. What can you tell us about working with Monster Fight Club and any other companies that you guys have licensed to make like minis or other content?
We currently have two really big licenses out there. Monster Fight Club is one of them. They are producing some sick as hell miniatures.
Oh yeah.
We're really excited to get them out there. They look amazing, and we're getting to the point where we're going to be able to start seeing much more of them. So that's really exciting. They're fantastic to work with. We give them tons of reference material. They'll come to us and say, "Hey, what's a med tech look like? You know, what your books say there are 5 guys on a trauma team. Can you give us visual examples of each of them?" And we'll comb through the books and give them the examples, and they'll go away and their sculptors will sculpt, and they'll come back and say, "How does this look?" And we'll say, "That looks amazing." So and the neat thing about Monster Fight Club too is not only are they a talented bunch of sculptors with years and years of experience, but they are always pushing the boundaries of new technology and what it can do. Stuff I've never even heard of, which would make perfect sense to people who are really in the know for miniatures in the miniatures industry, to allow them to do new things and get detail out of plastics and resins that I don't think people have really seen before, or have always been very high end and never been just your standard miniature. So they're fantastic to work with, and I cannot say that enough. The other big license we have at the moment is with Sirenscape. Mm-hmm. They produce sound sets. You get the Sirenscape app. You either have a subscription or you buy individual sound sets. And the sound set's like having your own special effects and music system for a game. For example, you can download right now one for the Forlorn Hope and one for the apartment. And if you download the Forlorn Hope one, you have something like 20 different sounds. And they range from the people who are talking in the club to the musician tuning up his guitar to the Ripper Doc in the back performing surgery. And you can make them louder or quieter with sliders individually. And the same thing with the apartment, where you can pull in sounds from your neighbors. They went through and they figured out which neighbors are living in the apartment and which NPC neighbors, and then what their apartments would sound like, or sounds coming from their apartments would be like. And again, you can tune them each individually. And if you've got the really good subscription, like their super subscription, you can create your own sound sets by taking individual sounds out of a bunch of different ones to create your own custom one.
Yeah, and I would highly recommend it. I use Sirenscape personally. They have a really cool Australian Creative Commons license. I think that's what it's called. It's pretty much, don't quote me, I'm just paraphrasing, but I think that as long as you give them credit in some sort of way, description or something like that, you can use it for your content, like your YouTube videos, podcasts, whatever, right?
Yeah, as long as you give them credit and you're not producing your content in such a way that it's really easy to take all their sounds from them. So like, you're not just saying, and these are each of the individual sounds from Sirenscape, and playing them so that people can record them.
Yeah.
If it's background noise, if it's sound effects in your game, yeah, go for it. Use them in your podcast, use them in your actual play. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and they have stuff for D&D, they have stuff for Starfinder, they even have like generic stuff like House Party. I downloaded that one, and it's just like noises that you'd hear at a party. So I highly recommend it.
Those are our 2 big licenses right now, and they're each producing more content. And there's going to be more in the future.
That's awesome. I'm glad, man.
I'm sorry. One more. Q Workshop is making dice.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They're making your dice. They made some really good ones that were in the Jumpstart kit, right?
And they have a full polyhedral set for people who want to take their cyberpunk attitude into other games, and there might be other dice in the future.
Awesome. Cool.
So kind of along the lines of minis, I guess, is at Gen Con, you guys had the Friday Night Firefight kind of mini board game, I guess we'll call it. And we haven't heard anything since. Is there any new news about that?
There is not at the moment, because we're pretty deep into working on Red, and that's eating up most of our time. But I would expect some more news on Friday Night Firefight at Gen Con this year.
Okay.
Sweet. Any other news for Gen Con this year?
We are going to have we are in the middle of submitting our events. We're going to have a ton of games, Red games. We're going to have Witcher games. We're going to have Mike's going to run his Kill Your Cyberpunk character game.
Yeah.
We are going to have Teenagers from Outer Space games, Castle Falkenstein games. It's going to be fantastic. Other than that, specific news, not yet.
Okay, yeah, I remember. I mean, I'm sure you guys were shocked with the turnout for the Jumpstart kits that last Gen Con.
Yeah.
What was it, like 30 minutes? You sold out of everything each day?
It was more like 2 hours.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it was pretty amazing. 30 minutes. But no, we have learned a lesson. We had done this. We had the same problem with problem. It's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
With Witcher the year before, where we had a line, and in fact, we didn't even realize we had a line until someone from Gen Con came over to us and says, "You got to manage your line. It's blocking other booths."
Ooh.
And we looked, we're like, "Oh!" And there are very specific rules about blocking aisles. So we worked it out, and this Gen Con last year, we were much more prepared. We knew that we would have lines. We weren't sure would it only be on the first day, would it only be for a little while, but we were prepared to deal with a line should a line come up. And there
were plenty of them. There were plenty of lines.
We decided to ration out the boxes so that there would be some for everybody every day. Because otherwise, it's very much first serve. You can't not do first come, first serve, but we can at least make it so that people who have 1 day passes have a chance to get it.
Yeah, 100%. Wow. I mean, congrats, congratulations for all the success that you guys are having. I know that there's going to be more success in the future, and it's beautiful to see. We're just guys that played Cyberpunk years ago with our buddies, and, then there was this big in-between period where nothing really happened, and then this whole thing coming back again. It's really been an awesome journey to be a part of.
Thank you. It's amazing to be there. We're excited. We're glad that you guys are out there making shows like this one.
Yeah, we're going to keep doing it.
Yeah,
we appreciate it because there is no word like word of mouth.
Yeah,
there really isn't.
Cool. Do you have any other questions, Luke, about Cyberpunk?
I guess we can kind of not really close out, but I guess we could ask, do you guys have any other future plans for your other lines? I know we got Mechton Zero. Do you plan on doing anything with, Castle Falkenstein or any of the other games that you have? If there's any plans to do like maybe a second edition or doing another kind of collector's edition like you're doing with 2020?
Not yet. When we are past Red, we'll take a good hard look at things, and we don't. It's a case of, again, not growing too quickly. We want to make sure that we can support what we have, and when we are sure, none of our lines are dead. Some of them are sleeping. Okay, let me rephrase that. None of our core lines, our licensed lines are because we did some anime licensed games in the 90s.
Yeah,
none of our
Bubblegum Crisis, unfortunately.
Yeah, none of our non-licensed lines are dead. They're only sleeping, and our hope is to do something with all of them eventually. For Falkenstein, you're going to see some new content, even if it's just small DLCs this year on our site. So it's possibilities are there. No specific announcements yet.
Yeah, so if you want that stuff, you should probably tweet at Jay. Tell him the people demand it.
Yep.
Oh, absolutely. If you want something, let us know, because one of the best ways to show us that a product will sell, which means that a product's worth making. It's not the only reason to make a product, but it really helps when the product makes enough money to actually support itself, is to let us know that the product will actually sell.
Couldn't agree more. I have a question, kind of like a personal question, and stuff that I've heard from other people that are into Cyberpunk and stuff like that. I know that you guys licensed out some modules to like Atlas Games, and then there's even some by DreamPod that made the Knight's Edge line of books. Is there any plans on trying to get the those books and releasing them print on demand, or even Interface magazine or anything like that?
At this point, no. We are not actively seeking to draw in content produced by other creators.
Sure.
Even the licensed stuff. I won't say it won't happen in the future, but it's not something we are working hard on. If you want those books print on demand, though, contact Atlas, contact DreamPod9, tell them you do, and maybe if they hear enough people, they will make it happen for you, because that's always, they have the full right to do so if they want to.
Yeah. And I do know that Interface Magazine, I mean, I don't know anybody. I don't even know who to contact. I've been looking everywhere trying to find an email or something. They sold the company, then it changed hands. Like I don't even know. I might be wrong in my research, but do you know anything about that?
Interface is a thorny issue, and it's one of the reasons why we haven't done anything with it. And we had this. It's a lot of detective work and figuring out who owns what and what parts of what. And which is one of the reasons, and also because Interface, large parts of it made the jump to things like the Chromebooks. So we are being careful. It's just a matter of, we would love to do it. I would love to have. It's just like everything. I would love to see everything Cyberpunk ever done out in some form or another, but we have to. That's a lot of work, and it's not work we can do yet.
Yeah, I get it. I totally get it. And everything was kind of fast and loose back in the day. You can't really have the foresight to figure out what to do, you know?
It's a different era legally. It's one of the reasons why you're probably never going to see a real brand in our books ever again.
Yeah.
Where, we would put in very close to, in the Chromebooks, you'll see older cars, for example, that were made by manufacturers you recognize. And it's a different world now.
Yeah, totally.
Where things get much more noticed.
And also...
by the way...
Sure, go ahead.
If I can jump in. As of 5 minutes ago, you can go to Drive-Thru RPG and go to our part of it, the Talsorian section, and go into the Cyberpunk Red, and you can order posters.
Ooh.
We took the 2 cover illustrations for the Jumpstart kit, what we call Cab Hail, which is the woman in blue raising her hand. And the other one, which I call Night City Nights, is the guy with the mohawk, or the faux hawk, with a gun in front of Night City. Those are both available for PDF and as a poster. They come like 18 by something. They're relatively small, but really nice, and they're available fairly cheap if you want to get them. $3 each for the printed posters.
Awesome. Oh yeah, wow. I'm gonna get my hands on those. My wife will be upset, but I don't care. I did have another question before we wrap it up, because I know that you guys are trying to get your hands on a rare source book. I forgot what it was called. You put it out on your social media that you're looking for this rare source book.
Yes, the Italian, our Italian publisher at the time put out a source book based on an Italian comic called Nathan Never, very cyberpunk comic, and we do not have a copy, or if we do, it is in a box somewhere, and we're not sure where. And I would love to be able to take that copy. There's literally nothing I can do with it. I mean, I can't put it out there. I can't scan it and put it out online, because it's not a book that we specifically probably have the rights to. But I would love just to see it, because it is the only cyberpunk source book I have never seen in person.
Yeah, I'm looking at the RPGgeek.com article about it. It says, by decision of the publisher, this book was finally edited without an original system and became a supplement for the Cyberpunk 2020 system. That's cool.
It's this very strange thing where, quite honestly, I don't even know if they technically did it in accordance with their contract with us, because usually we don't say you can make new things. But they apparently had the contract. They had the license for Nathan Never. They had the license for us, and they said, "Hey, why not?" And so I would love to see it. It's just one of those cases where I never have. It's this weird, strange animal that's out there in the wild.
Well, hey, we're putting it out there. If any of you guys out there, any old school gamers, if you got a copy of this Nathan Never out there, our Talsorian wants to have a word with you.
Yeah, we would love to see it. It would be great. I would love to just get a picture of it because it's just this weird thing.
Yeah, I mean that's what we're all about, right? The obscure.
Yeah.
No,
All right. Any other questions, Luke, or should we wrap it up?
No, I think we've gone a little bit over what we usually go, but so I think we got pretty much everything in. Like I said, I'm really glad we kind of got to finally sit down and actually talk to you, Jay. Since Gen Con, you were running all over the place, and I only got a couple thank yous in, so it was nice to kind of sit down and pick your brain a little bit.
No, I am glad to talk to you guys, and we're gonna see you next Gen Con, right?
Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah,
I hope so too, because that would be really cool.
I wish. Hopefully, one of these days in the future, I'll go. I'll go with my son. Hopefully, one day when he's old enough.
That would be cool. I will say that this year is going to be our year.
Yeah. Ooh, I like that. Well, hey,
3 years in a row with your Jumpstart kit and.
Oh, I'm not saying we're going. I'm not saying we're going to have lines. That's not my specific intent. I'm just saying it's 2020 and we're going all out in terms of.
Yeah. I got what you mean. It's just, it seems like every year is, you guys have been killing it every Gen Con. So
we've been very lucky, and we really appreciate how much people are supporting us. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, and big thank you to you, Jay Gray, for coming on and giving us your time. Big thank you. Give our thanks to everybody at Talsorian. From the top down, we appreciate everything you guys do. We can't wait to see what you guys have for us in the future, and we wish you nothing but success.
Oh, thank you. You guys, I hope that your readership continues to grow because you're doing some awesome work.
Thank you. That means a lot. Thank you so much. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Make sure you guys go to our Talsorian's website, get on their social media, Twitter. They have blogs there. Jay Gray's doing some awesome work connecting with the community. Join their Discord, and Drive Through RPG. We got print on demand. We got Jumpstart kits that they can buy directly from your website, right? The physical copies.
Yes. The Jumpstart kit is available from our website directly.
There you go. So get on it. And if you have any questions about where you can find that stuff, you can always join our Discord and hit us up on Twitter, hit us up on YouTube. We're all over the place. And other than that, we will see you
in the dark future.
Take care.